Hello and welcome back to Dr. Bill Speak. Today it is part 3 of our spiritual journey. As we make this trip together, I want to refresh our minds that the 3 things that are necessary on this journey, and the 3 most difficult things to do, sound simple, but it takes practice. And that's the how of the program. You have to remember that you have to be how the H is for honesty. We have to be completely honest with ourselves. No more blame game, blaming ourselves or others or God for our issues, our problems, our disappointments. We have to be open-minded. We have to be willing to listen and open to change. We have to look at what we have learned, be willing to unlearn, and be willing to relearn. And the third thing is willingness. We must be willing to listen and willing to change. Now, today we're going to talk a little more about the 2 worlds, and one of the reasons why it was important to go through the belief system is because that would be our departure points for many of our discussions, because that is where we are now. But to get to where we want to go, we have to understand thirdly where we are now. You see, oftentimes we look for solutions to problems where the problem is not. See, the basic problem of humankind started with the separation. And like we said in the parable of the what used to be called the prodigal son, when the Son of God wanted to take his inheritance, all that God had given him in creation, and go to a strange place. And as we say, that created what we now call the universe. That thought, it was so powerful, it created the universe. Now this goes to show 2 things: how powerful our thoughts are, and what our thoughts can do in the absence of God. So we talked a lot in the belief system about our worldviews. For an example, the belief system in, let's say Christianity is different from the belief system in Islam, which is different from the belief system in Confucianism or Taoism. But all of those are worldviews. And what I want to talk about today is something even larger than worldviews. I want to talk about universal. Understand this, universal views. You see, there are 2 main universal views, and that is the views that we see in time and space, and the one that we don't see in eternity. Let's call these worldviews for what they are. The one in time and space, after we left our home, after the son left the home, was one based in fear, and from fear come all kinds of fear-based reactions to the world. It comes greed, it comes believing that there's scarcity in the world, so we got to do what we got to do to get ours. And then the other universal belief stems from love. So we got 2 universal emotional motivations. One is fear and the other is love. And what we're always choosing between fear and love. Oftentimes we choose fear and think that we're choosing love, because fear is a duality, a dual system, a system of differences and expressions and perception. But when we get to the energy-based system, which is love, it's not duality, it's unity. It's knowledge. It's not perception, it's knowledge. It's knowing. So we're going to talk about those two today in a very familiar word, the word that we use quite often, and that word is love. Now, love in the, say, fear-based motivation has taken on many, many meanings. But we got love in the eternal base, which has one meaning, that is God. See, God is love. When Jesus and the prophets and the sages talk about love, they're not talking about the lust that I felt when I was young and had what I call my first love, which in reality was a first time I noticed changes in my bodies and hormones were kicking and I felt something that I had never felt before. And because I didn't know any better, I called that love. And I've been fed this through our belief system, through our television, through our stories, this great love. And that was a great feeling, great experience. But it wasn't love. You see, it wasn't God, because we just said that God is love. Let's see if we can define that from the perspective of God. See, that love that comes from eternity is what we call an unconditional concern for the well-being and of self and others. Now, the good thing about love, when we learn to love God, to love, quote, neighbors, and to love self. But the way we develop it is by first loving self. When we're born trying to survive. And that's kind of the love of self. Then we happen to notice that there are people in this world, and we become close with those people, and we learn to embrace them. And then somewhere in our mid-30s, we begin to understand that there's a power greater than all of us. And it goes that way. But let's look at that first love. When I was a teenager and I felt all of these emotions and all these feelings, it was called eros in Greek. See, that's the word. Eros is the word erotic come from. And we call that love, but that's not God. That's us changing in this world and coming to believe from our belief system that's love. You see, our belief system trying to get us away from the idea of God. And if they can make me believe that that was love, then I'm in with God. But what I have come to learn is that God's love is somewhat very different. We have the Greeks use the word stergio to talk about that love that we feel in a family, that bonding that comes with the family, the exchange that comes in families. Sometimes exchange is positive, sometimes negative, sometimes it's contributive, and sometimes it is destructive. But that feeling within our family members, those and the family is defined in so many ways. I'm not getting into that. But that Sergio, was a different word in Greek. But in English, we also call that love. So in English, we call that erotic feeling love. We call that bonding in the family love. And then there's phileo. Phileo is that, in Greek, it's the brotherly love, where they got the term Philadelphia from. See, once again, we did not choose our families. So that bonding within the family is one thing. But then we are able to choose our friends, and that bonding with our friends that we call love, it's not love as understood by God, but it's that bonding, the attraction, that coming together. And that's important in coming to understand what love is. Each of these are. See, so when we talk about love, from the perspective of God. We were talking about that concern for the well-being of others. If we go back to that giant mirror that was the Son of God and broke into trillions of pieces, and each one of us is a piece of that. Well, God loved the Son, and that Son is each one of us. See, what's important about that is that in the belief system, we don't love the people who are against us, or our enemies. Jesus said, love your enemies. That's important. We don't love one another. We love our family member, but not another family member. But see, that's not God's love. See, God's love goes back to what we talked about last in step 2, part 2, attachment. See, that attachment means becoming at one minute, means becoming at one. See, and it become at one with each and every piece of that mirror that broke and got to be put back together. See, we have to go back home to God as one. And we can't do that if I got my own individual God and I'm trying to get me to heaven, and I don't care whether this person get to heaven because I don't like him anyway, or that person ain't will never go because they ain't doing nothing but doing drugs or whatever. See, it is those who find themselves, who God come to, and God begin to move in them. It is up to each of us to move to our brothers and begin to help each one as we can. We cannot force them because God gave each of us free will. We can only show them through our example. Because we're concerned for the well-being for others in the same way that we're concerned for the well-being of ourselves. We're concerned that each person, regardless of who it is, have what we have. See, we're not a nation that's concerned with humanity because look at all the homeless people we got. But we really have the ability to create homes for everybody. We have the ability to resolve many of the problems that keep people from being able to become happy, joyous, and free. You see, another way of looking at that love that God talks about is in terms of the at one meant. It's coming to be at one with God, with our brothers, and our self, the capital S self. See, that's the self that is united with the Holy Spirit and create itself as one. See, for us to begin to become at one with our brothers, we have to first become at one with ourselves. And that's where it began. We began at one. Like we hear people talk about mind, body, and strength. I hear people say sometimes, my mind did one thing and my spirit said another. Well, you're confused and you really can't lead anyone until that mind, body, and soul is on one accord and is in the right place in the love area. Because if they're on one accord in the area of fear, you'll become a very greedy person. You'll become a very hostile person. You become a narcissistic person. See, so the answer that we're looking for us to begin our journey is the idea that we have to seek without any hesitation to learning to love each and every person that we see, that we think of, whether they are past or present. Because many of our souls may no longer be in physical sense, but they are in soul sense. So we have to love all. I don't want to take too long, so that'll be it for today. And next week we're going to talk a little more about what it means to love and to be at one. Amen. Okay, this is Dr. Bill signing out. Have a great week. And practice meeting everybody you know with a smile and kindness. An act of kindness will go a long way in developing